September 1945. The guns of the Second World War finally fall silent. Cities lie in ruins. Millions are dead, and the world stares into a new, uncertain dawn. What would come next, after the most destructive conflict in human history? This is the aftermath and legacy of World War II. World War II left behind a shattered world. Europe's great cities, Warsaw, Berlin, London, Stalingrad, stood in ruins. Entire industries had collapsed. Infrastructure was obliterated. Millions were homeless, displaced, were searching for lost loved ones. An estimated 75 million people had perished worldwide. The Holocaust alone claimed 6 million Jewish lives, leaving humanity questioning how such evil could take place in the modern age. The war's scars were not only physical, but deeply moral. The victorious Allied nations emerged powerful, but victory carried its own costs. The Soviet Union had lost over 20 million lives. Britain was nearly bankrupt, its empire crumbling. The United States, spared destruction on its own soil, rose as the wealthiest and strongest power on Earth. For the first time, America assumed the role of global leader. Yet victory was complicated. The use of the atomic bomb against Japan stunned the world. Hiroshima and Nagasaki were reduced to ash in seconds, ushering in a terrifying new era, the nuclear age. The war redrew borders across the globe. Germany was divided into 4 zones of occupation: American, British, French, and Soviet. Its capital, Berlin, was split as well. Poland's borders shifted westward. Eastern Europe fell under Soviet influence, while Western Europe looked to the United States for recovery and protection. Japan, too, was occupied, this time under American leadership. Its militarist system was dismantled, and a new democratic constitution was imposed. Former colonies across Asia and Africa, weakened by years of war, began demanding independence. But peace quickly turned to tension. The wartime alliance between the West and the Soviet Union fractured. Mutual suspicion grew into open hostility. Winston Churchill called it the descent of an iron curtain across Europe. The Cold War had begun, a geopolitical rivalry between 2 superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union. Instead of open battle, it was fought through espionage, propaganda, nuclear arms races, and proxy wars across the globe. The legacy of World War II shaped this struggle for decades. From the ashes of war, new institutions emerged. In 1945, the United Nations was founded to prevent another global catastrophe. Nations gathered to seek dialogue rather than destruction. The World Bank and International Monetary Fund were created to stabilize economies. The Marshall Plan, spearheaded by the US, poured billions into rebuilding Europe, ensuring recovery while countering Soviet influence. Meanwhile, the trials at Nuremberg brought Nazi leaders to justice. For the first time, crimes against humanity were defined under international law. The principle was clear: leaders could no longer wage war or commit genocide without accountability. World War II also marked the beginning of the end for colonial empires. Britain, France, and other European powers, weakened by war, could no longer hold their vast colonies. In 1947, India achieved independence, followed by a wave of liberation movements across Asia, the Middle East, and Africa. This period of decolonization reshaped the global order, giving rise to dozens of new nations seeking their place in the post-war world. The aftermath was not only political and economic, it was deeply human. Survivors of the Holocaust rebuilt their shattered lives. Israel was established in 1948 as a homeland for the Jewish people, itself born from the trauma of war and genocide. Across the world, nations vowed never again. Yet remembering would prove as important as rebuilding. Museums, memorials, and testimonies became essential to teaching future generations about the dangers of hate, totalitarianism, and unchecked power. War had driven technological innovation at an astonishing pace. The jet engine, radar, computers, and rocketry all advanced dramatically during the conflict. In time, these would revolutionize civilian life, from air travel to the digital age. Even culture was transformed. Literature, cinema, and art grappled with the meaning of war, its horror, and its heroism. World War II stories became woven into national identities, shaping how nations saw themselves and each other for generations. But the darkest legacy was the nuclear shadow. The bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki showed humanity's destructive potential. For the rest of the 20th century, people lived under the fear of nuclear annihilation. The world had entered an age where a single miscalculation could end civilization itself. World War II was more than a war. It was a turning point in human history. Out of destruction came both division and unity. Nations were torn apart, yet global institutions were born. Empires collapsed, yet new nations rose. The Cold War began, yet so too did an era of unprecedented economic growth and cooperation. Its aftermath still echoes today, in the balance of power, in the global economy, in the lessons we carry about humanity's capacity for both cruelty and resilience. The war ended in 1945, but its legacy never truly ended. It lives on in the world we inhabit today. World War II was more than a war. It was a turning point in human history. Out of destruction came both division and unity. Nations were torn apart, yet global institutions were born. Empires collapsed, yet new nations rose. The Cold War began, yet so too did an era of unprecedented economic growth and cooperation. Its aftermath still echoes today, in the balance of power, in the global economy, in the lessons we carry about humanity's capacity for both cruelty and resilience. The war ended in 1945, but its legacy never truly ended. It lives on in the world we inhabit today.